Start.
Alright, good morning.
Testing. 1,
Do we have
2,
any
3.
preliminary matters before the jury comes out? Okay. Alright, sure.
What's that let
Yes,
sound?
sir.
What's that let sound? Do 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 bu 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 bu. Testing. 1, 2, 3. So many sprinkle sound. Brrr, brrr, brrr. Camille and Johnny. Camille and Johnny. Dating. Only she can make him happy. Sweet, cute moment. Ice cream beach. My left ear. Ah. Look a bit like, what's that girl? Miss A. Is it called Miss A? Rotten bomb today. Rotten bottom. My left ear. Oh. Still got that problem.
All right, we ready for the jury then? All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right. As you remember, we were in the middle of a witness last evening, so we'll continue with her testimony, okay?
Oh my god, my ear.
Did you see Miss Heard shortly after she returned from Australia?
Yes.
How soon after she arrived back in Australia did you see her?
I believe it was immediately upon her return.
And she visited you in your apartment at the Eastern Columbia building, is that right?
Yes.
You testified that you observed injuries on Miss Heard on this occasion, is that right?
Yes.
What injuries did you observe?
She had these deep cuts on the backs of her forearms. And yeah, they were very, very deep, long cuts on the backs of her forearms.
Not even deep. Johnny Depp.
Did you see her feet?
Oh my god, yeah. Talking in the ear.
At first, when she came over, she had shoes on, and then she showed me her feet. Yeah.
What specifically do you recall seeing on Miss Heard's feet?
They were cut. It was smaller cuts than the ones on her arms.
Were both feet cut?
I don't remember if it was both or one.
You testified that Miss Heard told you that she got these injuries from glass from broken bottles, is that correct?
Yes.
You were not in Australia with Miss Heard when she allegedly sustained these injuries. Is that correct, Ms. Pennington?
I was not in Australia.
So your only understanding as to how Miss Heard sustained these injuries is what she told you, right?
That is my understanding.
You testified that you attended a Thanksgiving dinner with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard in November of 2015. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this dinner was held in Penthouse 5 at the Eastern Columbia building, right?
Yes.
And just for clarification, Penthouse 5 was not Mr. Depp and Miss Heard's primary residence, correct?
Oh, finally.
All of the
Jesus.
penthouses are connected.
Mr. Depp and Miss Heard lived in Penthouse 3. Is that correct?
Well, technically, they lived in all of them. They were all connected.
Where did they have their bedroom? In which penthouse?
Their bedroom was in 3.
Who attended this Thanksgiving dinner?
I think that, well, Josh, myself, Amber, Johnny. There were a couple of Johnny's friends. I think Amber's dad was there. Jack, Johnny's son. I don't remember anyone else specifically.
Do you recall what time you all sat down to eat dinner?
No.
Okay, but you testified at some point late in the meal, Amber went upstairs to look for Johnny and stayed up there for a long time, correct?
Yes.
And did Mr. Depp sit down to dinner with all of you?
I don't know if we all actually sat down at one point.
Did you see Mr. Depp at some point leave the dinner?
I don't remember him leaving. I remember noticing that he was gone.
Did you see where Mr. Depp left to, where he went?
I either upstairs or out the front door. I didn't see it happen, so I don't know.
Did you observe Miss Heard consume any alcohol before she went to look for Mr. Depp?
Yes.
What was she drinking?
Red wine.
Did she seem drunk when she went to look for Mr. Depp?
No.
Mega pie.
Did you observe any injuries to Miss Heard when she returned?
No.
Did you observe any injuries to Mr. Depp when he returned?
No.
Do you remember that when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard came downstairs, they were wearing different clothes?
I don't remember Johnny changing clothes. I do remember that Amber changed clothes.
Do you remember anyone that was still there when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard came back downstairs?
I believe Josh and myself. David Heard. And I don't remember anyone else specifically who was still there.
You also testified that when, quote, you went to look and found that a full bottle of wine had hit and broken a piece of art that Amber really loved above the bed, and that broken glass was scattered all over the bed.
Did I testify that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that an accurate description of what you saw?
Yes.
And where did you see this? In what room?
In their bedroom of PH3.
How did you get to this penthouse from penthouse 5?
I went upstairs in penthouse 5, across the top story, which all 3 penthouses were connected, through to penthouse 3. The bedroom was also on the top story, and all the way through and around.
Do you recall seeing any spilled wine?
I think there was wine.
Whisper.
Yeah, I think there was also spilled wine on the bed and on the ground.
Do you remember whether that bottle of wine was broken or not?
I don't remember that the bottle was broken, but there's also plenty of glasses around with wine in them that could have been part of that. There was glass everywhere.
So you specifically remember glass being everywhere upstairs. Is that fair?
On the bed, mostly.
What kind of wine bottle was it? Magnum? Red? Do you remember?
It would have been red.
Was it a Magnum bottle?
I don't think so.
What picture had been damaged?
I think it was one of Eleanor Finney, I believe.
What did, apologies, Ms. Pennington. What did it look like?
I don't remember which one.
You saw the aftermath?
The aftermath, fair.
So you don't know that Mr. Depp actually threw the bottle, right?
I don't know.
Ms. Heard could have thrown the bottle, true?
Could have.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You say she could have?
She could have.
And was the evening still happening after you returned from observing the bedroom?
Yes.
Do you recall any other issues happening, any further problems during the evening?
I don't recall any, no.
Do you remember providing deposition testimony about this Thanksgiving incident when you were deposed in the divorce proceeding?
If you have transcript of that original deposition, I could take a look at it and recall.
Do you have any independent recollection of testifying during the divorce proceeding about Thanksgiving?
Are you talking about the deposition or testifying?
I'm talking about your deposition during the divorce proceeding.
She's at the
Do you
direction.
remember?
I remember the depo, but it was a very long depo, and a lot of topics were covered.
So, do you remember during the depo testifying that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard returned to dinner? Mr. Depp was, quote, acting like nothing had happened. Do you remember that testimony?
I don't remember the specifics of the testimony.
Okay. So, can videographer, would you mind or tech pulling up Ms. Pennington's July 14, 2016 deposition transcript?
December.
July 14, 2016 is volume 2.
Where am I looking in the document?
Yeah, if you could please scroll down to page 238. Ms. Pennington, if you could look on page 238 of your deposition transcript from July 14, 2016, line 23. And if
Do you have control? You have control.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just I don't have like the scrolly thing, so I just have to.
Look at the page down.
What line am I reading down to?
January 20th, 2022.
Yeah, the night has faded in my memory, but as I read this, yeah.
Is that an accurate description of what you observed Mr. Depp that evening?
This description?
Yeah. Was it your observation the evening of Thanksgiving that you couldn't tell whether Mr. Depp was drunk or angry, that he just put on a facade?
I couldn't tell what he was feeling. I didn't know what was going on.
And you couldn't tell if he was drunk, correct?
I couldn't tell.
And you couldn't tell if he was angry that evening either?
Well, I can't say what anybody else's emotions are at any time.
You didn't perceive him being angry in front of you that evening?
At me, no.
At anyone?
Not that I recall.
So fair to say that Mr. Depp did not seem angry to you when he came downstairs after the Thanksgiving dinner, right?
He didn't seem any particular way to me.
You testified that in December of 2015, Amber called you over to her apartment so that you could check her out. Is that a correct statement? You testified to that?
Yes.
Okay, my question was, after you arrived, you observed injuries to Ms. Heard, right?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing that her head was bloody, where a chunk of hair had been ripped out of the back of her head?
Yeah. Yes.
Was her head actively bleeding when you saw her?
It wasn't like dripping down her head, but it was raw and red.
Was it actively bleeding, do you remember?
Define actively bleeding.
Was there blood?
Yes.
How could you tell hair had been ripped out of her head?
There was a bloody patch with
Oh, she's
hair
smiling.
missing.
Where was her face red?
Her whole face.
Could the redness have been from crying?
It could have been.
Where did her nose appear to be swollen?
It'd be like the upper bridge.
Did you observe that Miss Heard had any black eyes?
Not that I recall.
Was there blood on her lips when you saw her?
It was cut open.
Was there blood coming out of that cut?
Why is she smiling? Like a
I don't
weirdo.
remember if there was blood coming out of it at that point.
Was it on the top or bottom lip?
It was on the bottom.
Before we go there, have any independent recollection of seeing a laceration on Miss Heard's forehead?
There were many times that I saw injuries on her. If you would like to show me a photo or point me to another place where I can remember which injury was in which instance, then I can answer the question.
So you testified that Miss Heard had a laceration on her forehead when you saw her, correct?
Yes.
If you remember, where on her forehead was this laceration?
Up by the hairline.
Was it on the right or left side?
I don't remember.
Was the laceration bleeding?
I don't think so.
Sitting here today, did you observe any other injuries to Ms. Heard that evening that you remember?
No.
If we can go back to Ms. Pennington's witness statement in the United Kingdom, that would be great. So in paragraph 20, Ms. Pennington, you testified that after you saw Ms. Heard, you, quote, called for assistance from a private nurse who was part of the concierge medical service which Johnny and Amber used. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is Erin Varane the private nurse you're referring to here?
Yes.
Do you know approximately at what time you called Ms. Varane?
Evening.
Do you recall Ms. Varane coming over to the penthouses that night as well?
I don't know if she came over that night.
Do you recall Ms. Varane providing any advice or recommendation to you on the phone?
I think she said to maybe not let her go to sleep and to listen to her speech.
And you did that?
Yes.
You testified in paragraph 20 that on December 15, 2015, you took pictures of Ms. Heard's injuries on your phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you send the photograph?
I don't know if it was on my phone or her phone.
You see the third line down, it say with my phone.
Oh, then it was my phone.
Did you alter the photograph in any way, Ms. Pennington?
No.
Do you recall sending the photograph to anyone?
No.
Do you recognize the photograph?
Yes. Amber's face with swelling on her nose, bruising underneath her eyes.
And to confirm, you don't recognize whether you took this photograph or not, right?
I don't know if I took that one.
Okay. I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's pull up Pennington Exhibit 6. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
What is this photograph depicting?
The part of her scalp where the hair was ripped out.
You testified previously that in the photograph, a big clump of hair on the floor, which is blonde in color and clearly belonged to Amber. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes, I remember.
Where did you see this clump of hair?
It was in PH4 in the bedroom.
And just to confirm, PH4, is this where Ms. Heard used that penthouse as a closet?
No.
Which penthouse did Ms. Heard use as a closet?
Penthouse 5.
How did you know that the hair clearly belonged to Amber?
Oh,
Hair had been ripped out of her scalp, and it was her color on the floor of her apartment.
But you didn't see the hair get ripped out of her head, right?
Correct.
And so you're understanding that this was Miss Heard's hair that was ripped out of her head.
it could be movie prop or wig.
My understanding that it was Miss Heard's hair was what I saw on her body and on the floor.
And the fact that it had been, quote, ripped out of her head, that was based on what Miss Heard told you, right?
Yes, it's common sense.
If we could pull out Pennington Exhibit 7, please. Ms. Pennington, do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
This is a picture of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony.
Yes.
This is a picture of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony.
Objection made.
Yes.
Did you take the photograph?
Yes.
Did you take it on your phone?
Yes.
And before you took this photograph, did you move the hair in any way?
No.
Okay, so this picture is the clump of hair exactly as you found it, right?
Correct.
And when did you take this photograph?
When I was taking the other photographs,
And you didn't alter this photo in any way, correct?
I did not alter this photo.
Why didn't bring her
You recall
on court?
taking a photograph of a
Fry her.
platform bed which had a partially broken bed frame?
I do.
And did you photograph the bed just as you found it?
Yes.
You didn't move anything off or onto the bed?
No.
Where was the bed broken, if you remember?
It was a platform bed, and the edge of the platform had like a long shard of wood off the corner, or like off the edge.
Where was the broken bed? In which penthouse?
4.
In which room?
The bed.
I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 8. Bears a date number Pennington 5. Do you recognize that photograph, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
You see that on the left side of what I assume is the mattress and the comforter, there appears to be something on the bed.
Is it possible to zoom in?
Sure. You see in the picture there appears to be something on the bed.
Yes.
Is this something that was already there when you found the bed?
I don't remember seeing that before.
It's not something that you put on the bed, right?
No.
And you don't know what that is.
No.
So I believe you already testified that the next day Miss Heard was going on the James Corden show, right?
Which testified? Which testified?
Today.
Today.
Oh, today. The next day, yes.
And you were with Miss Heard when she was getting ready for the show at her apartment, true?
True.
And was this in Penthouse 3?
Five.
You remember that Samantha, Melanie, and Nadir were there assisting Miss Heard getting ready?
Yes.
Who was Samantha?
Samantha is Johnny's stylist and was also doing styling for Amber.
And who was Melanie?
Amber's makeup artist.
And who was Nadir?
Her hairstylist.
Do you recall anybody else being there?
No.
Did you hear Miss Heard tell anyone of these people about the injuries?
I remember her showing the injuries.
Who did she show the injuries to?
She showed Melanie her lip and Adir the missing hair on her head.
Ms. Pennington, I want to talk to you about Miss Heard's birthday in April of 2016. You remember that after Miss Heard's birthday dinner, you and Miss Heard and some other friends were scheduled to leave for Coachella the day after?
Yes.
So after the dinner, I know you attended the dinner, but after the dinner the next day, when you arrived at the penthouse, you noticed shattered glass on Miss Heard's bedroom floor.
Correct.
What kind of glass was it?
I don't know.
Can you tell where it comes from?
I couldn't tell where it come from.
Did you notice any other damage in the bedroom?
I believe there's a broken lamp.
The church has a dog in the house, correct?
At the time of this?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you recall where the dogs were when you were in the bedroom with Miss Heard on April 22nd, 2016?
In the bed.
Were you concerned about the dog injuring themselves on the glass?
Yes.
Did she look upset?
When I arrived,
Yeah.
she was asleep.
When she woke up, did she look upset to you?
Yes.
What made you think that she was upset or looked upset?
She started crying.
Now let's turn to the events of May 21, 2016. Okay. At some point, did Miss Heard tell you that Mr. Depp wanted to come to the penthouse to get some stuff on May 21st, 2016?
I don't remember what exact day she said that. She said that.
I'll make the representation to you that we're talking about May 21st, 2016, when Miss Heard alleged that Mr. Depp threw a phone at her. So, do you recall knowing that Mr. Depp was planning to come by the Eastern Columbia building on or about May 21st, 2016 to collect some stuff?
I remember that she told me that he wanted to come over.
Do you remember who was at the penthouse before Mr. Depp came over?
On which, when?
On May 21st, 2016. You were there, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Heard was there?
Yes.
Was Josh Drew there?
Yes.
Was Elizabeth Mars there?
Yes.
Were you preparing for a jewelry show the next day that you were doing with Pennington?
I was preparing.
Was anybody assisting you prepare for that show?
Yes.
And you were in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, preparing for that show?
We were in and out of Penthouse 5 and Penthouse 1.
At that point, Ms. Heard left Penthouse 1 and Penthouse 5. And she went to Penthouse 3, correct? At some point that evening?
Yes.
Sometime after Ms. Heard left to go back to Penthouse 3, you received a text message from her, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when you received this message?
PH1, Penthouse 1.
Where was Mr. Drew?
With me in PH1.
And where was Ms. Mars?
She was either with us in PH1 or in PH5.
And do you remember what you were doing when you received this message?
No.
What did you do after you received this message from Ms. Heard?
I went straight over to PH3.
Could you hear when you went straight over to page 3, Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Sorry, will you repeat just the beginning of the question? You broke up a bit.
When you went to Penthouse 3, could you hear Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were saying to each other?
No.
Do you recall the door being locked to Penthouse 3 when you got there?
The door was always locked.
Did you have a key?
Yes.
Did you use the key to open the door?
Yes.
I believe you previously testified that the penthouses 3, 4, and 5 were all connected. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so you can get from penthouse 5 to penthouse 3 without going out the main hallway. Is that right?
Correct.
When you entered penthouse 3, only Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were in the penthouse, right?
Yes.
Do you know where Mr. Depp was standing?
Yes.
Where was he?
In the living room.
What part of the living room?
The sort of like the entry, like the in-between from the kitchen to the living room.
And where was Miss Heard?
On the other side of the living room.
Was she by the couch?
Yes.
And
Couch.
were they approximately how far apart?
8 feet, 10 feet.
And they were both standing when you first came in?
Yes.
What's the first thing you remember, Miss Pennington, when you entered the penthouse?
The first thing I remember was just hearing them. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was verbal argument, and then they continued to yell, and I went over to her and then stepped between them.
Where was Mr. Depp when you stepped between them?
The sofa is an L in the corner of the living room. The coffee table fit into the L shape. Amber was on the far side. Johnny was on the other side of the L, with the coffee table between them.
At some point, Mr. Depp's security team came in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was Jerry Giles and Sean Depp?
Yes.
Where was Mr. Depp standing when they entered the apartment?
In the space between the living room and the kitchen.
And you were with Miss Heard on the sofa?
Yes.
Mr. Depp eventually left penthouse 3, which is the kitchen. Is that correct?
Eventually, yes.
And he left you and Miss Heard in penthouse 3?
Yes.
From the moment you entered penthouse 3 until Mr. Depp left, did you see Mr. Depp touch Miss Heard?
I didn't see him touch her.
Did you see him throw anything at her?
I didn't see him throw anything at her.
What did you do after Mr. Depp left penthouse 3?
We took Amber to penthouse 1.
Is that where Mr. Drew and Miss Mars were?
I don't know where they were specifically. I don't know if they were in different places or which apartment they were in.
What did you do once you and Miss Heard got back to penthouse 1?
She wanted her purse, so I asked Josh to go find her purse in PH3.
Did you observe property damage in any of the penthouses?
Yes.
What damage did you observe in penthouse 3?
He had smashed a bunch of on his way out. I saw this. On his way out, he had knocked over a bunch of items that were on the kitchen island, fruit baskets and bottles and things like that. That was the main damage in PH3.
What damage did you see in PH5?
In PH5, there were photos that had been smashed off the wall, items that I had been working on the table that had been thrown against the wall.
You also observed injuries in the Kurt's face, correct?
Yes.
What did you see?
Her cheek was red and swelling.
Do you recall when you noticed her cheek?
No.
But you didn't see how this occurred, right?
I didn't see.
At some point, the police officers arrived. Is that correct?
At 2 points, 2 police officers arrived.
Before the first set of police officers showed up, had you cleaned up any of the damage in penthouse 3 or 5?
I don't remember.
Where were you when the police officers arrived? The first set?
PH3.
Did you see Ms. Hurd speak to the officer? The first set.
Yes.
Did you see the officers enter penthouse 3?
Yes.
They look around penthouse 3?
Yes.
Did they enter house 5, the first set of police officers?
I'm not sure.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Mason, that the first set of police officers saw the damage you alleged Mr. Depp caused in penthouse?
I don't know what they saw, but there was damage there.
And another set of 2 officers came later in that night. Is that correct?
Correct.
Between the first set of officers leaving and the second set of officers arriving, how much time has passed?
I don't remember exactly.
Do you have an estimation of how much time has passed? An hour, 2, less than that?
Less than 3.
3 hours? Less than 3 hours?
Less than 3.
In this time, do you recall cleaning up any of the damage to penthouse 3 or 5?
I don't recall.
Do you recall Mr. speaking to either of the second set of officers?
No, I don't remember. She did not.
Did these officers, the second set, look around penthouse 3?
I can't guess. I don't know.
Ms. Pennington, how Have you ever personally witnessed Mr. Depp physically attack Ms. Heard?
Yeah, can you be specific to physically attacked?
Did you ever witness Mr. strike Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw anything at Ms. Heard?
I never witnessed him throw anything at her, around her, yes.
The question is, did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw anything at Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp hit Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp physically injure Ms. Heard, cause her an injury?
I didn't see it.
So that's a no, right?
I didn't.
Your Honor, at this point, I start asking Ms. Pennington some questions, so we'll play that, but maybe we just approach just get straight on some exhibits, please.
Okay.
Rotten Bottom, how are you? I miss you already.
Thank you, Your Honor. Are we ready to start?
Yes, sir.
Now, I understand that you've testified a number of times about some of the events that we touched on yesterday, right?
Yes.
Has there ever been anything in any of those prior sworn statements or testimony that you've given that has prevented you from telling the truth?
No.
And is all of your prior sworn testimony, including the testimony you gave yesterday, true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Are you here today on behalf of one side or the other? And by that I mean on behalf of Amber or on behalf of Johnny?
No.
Would you consider yourself adverse or hostile to either party?
No.
Any other time that you can remember?
Not specifically, no.
Was there a name for what you described as Mr. Depp's different self?
Yes.
What was that name?
We called it the monster.
Who is we?
all of us, me, Johnny, Amber, anyone else in the inner circle that was privy to the private things that happened.
How do you know that Johnny called it the monster?
He named it that.
You heard him refer to this other version of himself as the monster directly?
Either heard or saw it written in a text.
You received texts from Mr. Depp referring to this other version of himself as the monster?
I can't remember specifically any of them.
But you do recall hearing or reading Mr. Depp directly referring to himself as the monster.
Yes.
And why did he do that?
He asked for my help.
And over the course of your relationship, when Amber needed your help, you tried to be there for her, right?
Yes.
What do you mean by scary?
I was scared for Amber.
Crying
I
incoming.
was sad for her, and I was also sad for Johnny. Because he is my friend too. And I really wanted to be able to get it together.
Why were you scared for Amber?
It can be very unpredictable.
Both friends crying is more convincing.
Didn't have a lot of self-preservation.
What specifically, what type of harm were you worried about for Amber?
In the beginning, I wasn't worried. Towards the end, when the physical abuse was more evident, I was worried. I was worried for her physical safety. I was worried that when he turned, he might accidentally do something that was worse than he ever intended.
When you say, talk about abuse, is this signs of abuse that you personally observe?
Can you explain what you mean specifically by that?
Did you observe physical effects on Amber of that abuse?
Yes.
You testified a little bit yesterday about an incident between Johnny and Amber that took place in Hicksville. You remember that?
Yes.
Tell me as best you can everything that you remember about that.
We were sitting around the campfire. I don't remember who the larger group was. And Amber and Kelly Sue were sitting on a chair together, hugging. And Johnny came up and said, "Get your hands off my woman." And it was surprising because it was a very benign, two friends sitting on the same chair, hanging out. And it was also surprising because Johnny had been hanging out with everybody in in a friendly way, and a switch flipped when that happened. And Amber got out, went to go comfort Johnny, and then they went back to their trailer.
How would you describe Johnny's tone when he said, "Get off my woman"?
At first, I thought it was a joke. I thought he was kidding because it was so unexpected from the way that the rest of the night had been going. And then at some point, I think Amber realized that it was not a joke and got up to diffuse the situation.
Did you perceive Kelly Sue to be acting inappropriately in any way toward Miss Heard?
No.
Had you seen when you said a switch flipped in Mr. Depp? That was your testimony, right?
Just now?
Yeah, just now.
Yeah.
Was it surprising to you to see?
No.
And why not?
He switched sometimes.
And what do you mean by that when you say he switched?
Johnny would be acting like his wonderful self
Acting.
for a certain portion of an occasion where people were hanging out, or sometimes just privately at home. And I never knew what caused it. The switch would happen to where he would either disappear or go somewhere off by himself, or his mood would change to something darker. And yeah.
What do you recall? We'll get to specific incidents in a little bit, but when you say his mood would change to something darker, do you remember any specific examples of times that you witnessed when his mood changed to something darker?
I can't remember at this moment specific times when it would happen. Generally,
Sarah Silverman really looked like her.
he would go away from where the rest of the people were. Amber would follow to comfort. Sometimes they wouldn't come back, sometimes they would.
Boring.
And tell us about the next morning at Hicksville, what you saw and observed.
I went to the trailer to go knock on the door. I think they had already left, though. I went in and saw the disarray.
Describe the disarray as best you can.
Like I said yesterday, the light fixtures had been knocked off. Things were strewn about the trailer, cushions off the couch bank.
Over the course of you've known Miss Heard since 2003, right?
Yes.
Have you ever known her to knock light fixtures off a wall?
No.
Have you ever known her to throw pillows and cushions off couches?
No.
Have you ever known her to get in a rage and destroy property?
No.
Have you ever known her to threaten someone's life?
No.
What did Amber tell you? Did you ever have a conversation with Miss Heard about what happened in that trailer in Hicksville?
Yes.
I'd like to fast forward a little bit in time, Miss Pennington, to an episode that we talked about yesterday to some extent. Do you remember being with Amber after something that happened the day before she went on the James Corden show in December 2015?
Yes.
What do you remember? And I know this is painful and emotional, but give me your best recollection of what you recall from that time period.
From the night before?
Were you with Amber the night before the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And were you with her the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And did you observe Miss Heard and Miss Heard's residence the day before the James Corden appearance and the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
So with that, tell me everything that you can remember, starting with the day before. And I may interrupt you and ask you to clarify certain things, but that's everything to remember.
So she asked me to come over to her residence, PH3 or PH5, I don't remember which one I entered. And she was very upset. Her face was red, swollen. The hair had been ripped out of her head. I went through all of the penthouses. She didn't cancel. I don't think I even slept that night watching her to make sure she didn't.
Is that because you were worried she had a concussion?
Yes.
Why did you tell her that you were going to go take pictures throughout the penthouses?
I wouldn't have.
Ms. Pennington, I'm gonna. You saw a few selected pictures yesterday. I'm gonna show you a number of pictures today that we need to go through and I'll ask you some questions about them. Okay?
Are you able to see Exhibit 15?
Yeah, I can see it. Can you, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
Ms. Pennington, does this picture truly and accurately depict Miss Heard's appearance on December
Those job. Botox.
2015, during the night that you just discussed?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not you took this picture?
I do not.
That you were with Miss Heard that evening after the incident?
Botox.
I was.
What room was this taken in?
This is the bathroom of Johnny and Amber's bedroom in PH3.
What injuries, if any, do you observe on Miss Heard in this picture?
Her right eye has a mark and a bruise. Her nose is swollen. There's bruising on her left eye as well.
And Exhibit 16 is up.
What is this picture of Miss Pennington?
Here's a picture of Amber's face with bruising and a mark on her right eye, swelling on her nose,
Photoshop.
bruising on the left eye,
Photoshop.
in the same bathroom.
And when was this picture taken?
I assume the same night.
Is that the night in December 2015 that you've been testifying about for the last few minutes?
Yeah.
Do you see behind Miss Heard's left ear? There's a picture on the wall, and then a writing, a note above the picture.
Yes.
What is that note signed? If you can tell.
Steve.
To your understanding, who is Steve?
Johnny.
Johnny Steve.
And what does it say right above that?
It says, "You're Steve."
What's the line above that say?
Yours.
Eternally?
I love you eternally.
So
All is still.
everything always up. 3 exclamation points.
All is always up. All is still always
Love
up.
you eternally, your Steve.
And Steve, in that note, refers to the same man that you understood to have inflicted these injuries on Miss Heard, correct?
Yes.
And does this picture truly and accurately reflect what you observed on Miss Heard in that night in December 2015?
Partially.
When you said partially, what do you mean by that?
You can't see the rest of the injuries.
What other injuries are you referring to?
The hair being pulled out.
Exhibit 17 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Amber's face
Photoshop.
turned at a slight profile with a bruise on her eye, swelling on her nose.
And when was this picture taken?
Appears to be the same night, same moment of the previous 2 pictures.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict, at least in part, Miss Heard's appearance on that night?
Yes.
Exhibit 18 is up.
How did her hair that got ripped out by Johnny be
What
placed
is
so
the
neatly on
Miss
the
Pennington?
photo?
Of Amber's face,
Crying again.
black eyes, and swollen bottom lip.
Did you take this photo?
I don't remember.
She's pinching her own leg
You
to
said
cry.
swollen nose.
Yes.
If you can cry, I'll give you 10,000 US dollar. That's what she said.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict, at least in part, Miss Heard's appearance on that night in December 2015?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you take pictures of Miss Heard that night?
Crying doesn't add
Yes.
points, Crying doesn't
You believe that you
add
took
points.
this picture?
I don't know.
Pete Davidson. Look like Pete Davidson.
But in any event, it accurately reflects what Miss Heard's appearance from that evening.
Yes.
Exhibit 19 is up.
Herpes lips. Herpes lips. Cry for
And
what?
I'm sorry this is
Fake
so hard,
crying.
Miss Pennington.
Fake crying.
We just need to get through as
Yeah.
best we can. What is this picture?
This is Amber's face turned a profile, showing more of her bottom bloody lip and her right bruised eye.
And
Three fake crier.
what night does this, or when does this show Amber?
It appears to be the same night and the same series of photos as before.
Where was this picture taken, if you know?
Oh, it's in the bedroom, facing she's sitting on the bed and it's facing the windows.
Was anyone with you and Amber that night after you came over?
I don't think so, no.
So is it fair to assume that either you or Amber took this picture?
Yes.
Does it look like Miss Heard took this picture?
No.
Do you recall taking this picture?
I took a lot of pictures. It would be... Yes.
Does Miss Heard's lower lip look like it's just chapped?
No, it does not.
Does it look like she just has a cold sore?
It does not look like a cold sore.
Exhibit 20 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of Amber's hairline, a scratch injury on the hairline, and my thumb holding the hair back so that you can see it.
Does this picture depict marks that you saw on Amber on the night in December 2015 that we've been discussing?
Or the next morning.
One or the other?
Yes.
And Lucas, if you could just go back really quickly to the last picture, please, Pennington 19. I may have asked you this, Ms. Pennington, but I just want to make clear for the record, does this picture fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's appearance on that night in December 2015 that we've been discussing?
Yes.
Exhibit 21 is up.
What is this a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
Herpes.
This is a close-up picture
Herpes.
of the side of Amber's nose and mouth.
Herpes.
Go ahead.
She has a swelling and an injury on her bottom lip.
Are there any other injuries you observe in this picture?
And see, you could see at the top of the photo, bruising on her eye and the small mark underneath her bottom eyelid.
Did Miss Heard, did she typically have that small mark underneath her eye or bruising around her eyes?
She did not usually have that small mark or bruising underneath her eyes.
Did she typically have injuries to her lip?
Sometimes.
And over the course of your friendship with Miss Heard during the time that she was in a relationship with Mr. Depp, how often would you all communicate?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
During the time that Miss Heard was in a relationship with
Crying
Mr. Depp,
again.
how often would you communicate with Miss Heard? Like every day?
When she was filming, less. When she was home, all the time.
And you just testified, I believe it wasn't the only incident in which you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips, correct?
Correct.
Were there any other times that you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips?
Yes.
Exhibit 22 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Picture is hair pulled back to show the abrasion on the scalp where hair has been removed.
Whose head is that?
That's Amber's head.
Was this, do you know when this picture was taken?
Either the night of the event or the next day.
And by event, you're referring to the event in December of 2015 that we've been talking about?
Yes.
Do you recall taking this picture, Miss Pennington, of Miss Heard's scalp?
Yes.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict the top of Miss Heard's scalp? During the day of or at the day after the December 2015 incident that you've been giving testimony about?
Yes.
Exhibit 23 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
There's a picture of a clump of Amber's hair on the black carpet of the bedroom of PH4 with my finger there to show the scale of the hair.
Did you take this picture?
Yes.
When did you take this picture?
She don't.
The night of the event. The night of the event. The December, the occurrence that we've been talking about.
She don't pay
In December
rent.
of 2015?
Yes.
And
She don't pay
how did you
rent.
know that that was Amber's hair?
She's a freeloader. She don't pay rent. She stay for free at Amber Heard's house.
Hair had been ripped out of her head. This is the color of her hair. It's her home.
And this, you said, was in the bedroom of Penthouse 5?
4.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to pull out clumps of her own hair?
No.
Miss Heard ever paint on bruises or use makeup to make it appear as if she had a bruise when in fact she didn't, to your knowledge?
No, the opposite.
What do you mean when you say the opposite?
She often had to cover bruises and injuries on her face with makeup.
Did you see her cover bruises on her face with makeup?
Yes.
Can we pull up the document titled December 2015 ALH 28_B, please? What is this picture, Ms. Pennington?
Is a picture of Amber. She has a mark underneath her right eye. She has her coat and her shirt on. They're in the kitchen. She's in the kitchen of PH3.
Do you know when or approximately when this picture was taken?
The day following the December event or the day after, maybe. I don't know exactly when.
And did you take this picture?
I don't know.
Does it fairly and accurately depict Amber's appearance on the day you described?
On one of the days following, yes.
Exhibit 25 is up.
Do you know what this is a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
This is a picture of the nightstand on the right side of the bed in Johnny and Amber's bedroom in PH3. It has a lamp that's fallen down, a book of rolling papers, half a lemon, a plastic coffee mug of Infinitum Nihil, which is Johnny's production company, a bottle of Tums, a bottle of tea, broken glass, and a small blue book on the floor that I can't make out what that is.
Did you ever know Amber to break glass next to her bed?
No.
What's your knowledge about Mr. Depp's tendency to break things made of glass?
My knowledge is that I saw him do it once, and that I saw the aftermath of him breaking glass many times.
And on that evening in December 2015, did you see that we've been discussing? Did you see broken glass around the residence?
Yes.
Let's go to the next picture, December 2015 ALH_509_B. You've seen this picture before. What's this a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
This is a picture of the platform bed in the bedroom of penthouse 4. The edge of the platform bed has a shard of wood that has broken off onto the floor.
Did you take this picture?
Yes.
When did you take it?
Either the night of the event or the next day.
And when you say event, what are you referring to?
The December 15th event that we've been speaking about.
You said December 15th. You mean December 2015?
Yes, sorry, 2015.
Where is this bed in the residence?
This is in the penthouse 4. It's the middle penthouse between the main residence, PH3, Amber's closet, PH5. This is the one of the rooms that you walk through to get to go through the upper story of the homes.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to destroy a bed frame?
No.
Have you ever known? Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Have you ever known Miss Hurd to destroy furniture generally?
No.
Miss Pennington, in all the photos that you have taken of evidence or incidents or the aftermath of incidents between Amber and Johnny, have you ever done anything to alter those photos or, make them appear to depict something that wasn't actually there or wasn't actually real?
No.
I want to talk about the day of the Late Late Show. When I say that, do you understand I'm referring to Amber's appearance on the James Corden show?
Yes.
The Late Late Show with James Corden. Were you with Amber when she got ready for her appearance on that show?
Yes.
Who else was present?
A dear that who's her hairstylist, Melanie, her makeup artist, and Samantha, her stylist.
Were you there when her hair and makeup was being styled or put on before her appearance on James Corden?
Yes.
Did you see anyone paint on a wound on her lip or put makeup on her face to make it appear that there was a wound on her lip?
No.
Did you observe anyone ripping clumps of her hair out of her head?
No.
Ms. Pennington, did you to the extent that it's alleged that Ms. Hurd had no injuries when she went on the James Corden show, what is your reaction to that?
My reaction is that that is a false assessment or statement.
And what's the basis for that testimony?
Because I saw injuries on her body from the time directly after they happened throughout the next night, the next day, and as they continued to heal.
In the time that you spent with Johnny, did he ever express a similar sentiment that he was screw up or fuck up, in his words?
Yes.
And what did you tell me what you can remember about the instances when he said that and what your understanding was of what he meant?
My understanding was that he was sorry and apologetic and
For what?
for his behavior.
When you say behavior, what are you referring to?
Verbal arguments, physical arguments.
And that was what he made clear to you in things that he said to you. Is that right?
What he made clear to me in our conversations was that he was very sorry and that he was working to get clean and get better, and that he was asking for forgiveness and trying to think that he was going to get better.
Did you ever see him get better?
Yeah.
When?
Crying again. Crying timing.
A lot of times.
But did you ever see him get better permanently?
No.
Your Honor, at this point, we start questioning Ms. Pennington about May 21st. We're happy to keep going, but if you wanted to take a break, I think we're about halfway through this volume.
Okay, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Again, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay?
Booby. $15 resting time. Froze.
All right, let's just come back at 11 o'clock then, okay?
Thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
thank you.
Time back. So many messages getting deleted. Box, bom, 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 bom. Snooze fest. And very little people watching. Yesterday, 1 million. Today, only maximum 500K. Day 17 is the climax of the entire trial.